exactly what lodge they go to, what rank they are. Like, did you guys know about this? Here we have James repping T-Hun Lodge 104 out of Colorado Springs.
What would happen if you were to find... If we were to find out who was watching us, silenced. Silenced how? Erased. And I said, does that mean killed? It says sometimes. And I said, is there a doctor? What would happen if you were to find out?
These star seeds from the Sirius B star. That's one thing about them Africans. They know about them stars. And don't nobody got a damn telescope. That's what be fucking me up. They don't even got shoes on. They know how far a fucking star is and the name of it. Here go another reason why we can't talk to them, y'all. There's a widespread belief in the New Age community that dolphin echolocation has a physical and spiritual effect on human DNA.
Hello, how are you today? Welcome to, or welcome back to Baby Girl's World, where usually I talk about train wrecks on the internet, but today, and from here on out, I'm also going to put out these videos because there's a lot of shit going on in the fucking world right now that we need to talk about, okay? I would rather talk about it and be prepared than to not talk about it and be scared. I feel like I have an influence amongst my community, so I would like to, talk about this stuff. Let's hear each other's opinions. Nobody's opinion is a bad opinion, okay? I mean, well, you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't be disrespectful and nasty in the comments. That's not what I mean. What I'm saying is that your opinions and views on what we are about to talk about are very important to me. I will always put out a Gypsy Rose video just because of the fact that Gypsy Rose's truth needs to be brought to the attention of mainstream media as soon as possible because she lied about literally everything. And even though we can't put her back in prison, we do want her off of social media. In fact, Miss Behaven's link will be in my description for her petition to get Gypsy Rose Blanchard off of the internet. In my videos, though, for these type of videos, you're going to be entering into a community where it's a safe place, where we discuss the issues of the world together. I'm not trying to influence your opinion. I encourage you to do your own research. This is just stuff I found on the internet I found to be interesting, okay? So, I mean, you got to do your own research, form your own opinions, find your own perspective, because that's what this is all about, right? But also, they're talking about disclosure. They're talking about the Epstein files. There's so much going on right now that we as a community do need to be prepared. Also, I do believe in the power of prayer. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter what religion you are. Prayer is powerful, right? So I pray for all of you to be safe. I pray for all of your health. And I pray for all of you to have great things brought to you in your life because you all deserve it so much. I've heard so many stories from many people in my chat, and if anyone deserves the good graces of God, it would be you guys. You know what I'm saying? Oh, but we gotta do member of the video, bitch. Ooh, Catherine Genevieve's 10th, yeah. She's not 9, she's number 10, meaning you're the best, bitch. Yes, I got down on that. You, that sounds creepy. Well, you know what I mean. With all that we're going to be talking about, it's not something you should say, to be honest. Well, let's get to. We can't waste any more time. We need to get this out. We need to talk about this shit. All right. So, guys, what are your thoughts on talking to dolphins? Did you know that it's illegal to talk to dolphins? Well, everybody's been talking about that, right? Well, did that man really go crazy, or did he really see Gerald the dolphin? It's sounding real because, now he's in jail. I mean, just listen to this video. It is a great like breakdown of everything with the dolphins and that. Just watch.
Ever since that white boy went to jail for talking to dolphins, I wouldn't have believed it if they didn't take him to jail and then kill almost 40 damn dolphins. How the fuck would y'all know he actually talked to dolphins to arrest him for talking to dolphins if you didn't see the shit? You know he talked to them bitches and that's why he's locked up. So I started to deep dive.
Don't do that.
Because I got a fucking brain and I use it. So I ask, why is it illegal to communicate with dolphins? Many people believe dolphins aren't just animals, but highly evolved spiritual gatekeepers or extraterrestrial consciousness living in our oceans. They suggest that dolphins and whales are actually starseeds from the Sirius B star. That's one thing about them Africans. They know about them stars and don't nobody got a damn telescope. That's what be fucking me up. They don't even got shoes on. They know how far a fucking star is and the name of it. Here go another reason why we can't talk to them, y'all. There's a widespread belief in the New Age community that dolphin echolocation has a physical and spiritual effect on human DNA.
I got my alien nails on too.
Fuck! Some esoteric historians, esoteric means only like a specific group of people know this knowledge. Esoteric historians believe dolphins are the descendants or spiritual successors of a lost civilization of Lemuria. Lemurians were supposedly highly telepathic and lived in total harmony with nature. Right. These guys. As their continent sank, they transferred their consciousness into the kingdom of the dolphins and whales to preserve their wisdom until humanity was evolved enough to communicate again. Evolved enough? How the fuck we supposed to evolve when they got us on Chat GPT? We're not gonna evolve because guess what, dolphins? They doing shit to our mind. They got us drinking fluoride every fucking day, calcifying our pineal gland. They fucking us up, so we can't click with y'all. We can't click and do all the clicking and do all that cool shit and all that. We'll go to jail, we talk to y'all. And I ask, why do they use dolphins to help women give birth to a baby? Sonic scanning. The most common belief is that dolphins use their echolocation or their sonar to scan the mother and the unborn baby. Believers say dolphins are naturally attracted to high frequency vibrations of the fetal heartbeat. If a pregnant lady get in the ocean and dolphins start swarming her ass, that's them dolphins, baby.
Right?
They're the daddy now. They claim the dolphin sonar can detect complications or even help retune the baby's nervous system during the stress of labor. Motherfuckers. And before I close out, I just want y'all to know that dolphins are essentially the aliens of the ocean. Their intelligence is so sophisticated and different from ours, many scientists argue that they should legally be classified as non-human persons. Long live Gerald, man. Free that white man. Them motherfuckers stole him and they did make him build fucking condo.
Okay, so is it like a fucking, sorry, I don't mean to cuss, but is it like a requirement when you go into Hollywood that you have to become a Freemason or you have to be within that? I feel like even the astronauts are Freemasons, okay? And we all know that the Freemasons are the Illuminati or whatever. So, I mean, I would suppose that, I mean, I don't know. I guess if they say that they all worship Satan, is it all of them that do that then? Or is it just a select few? I don't know. But a lot of astronauts that know information about the alien disclosure are going missing. One was actually sniped out on his front porch. Why, people? Why are people not standing up and being like, what the hell is going on? This is so frightening. Let's watch.
Does anyone else find this a little weird or strange that all of the astronauts that apparently been to the moon are all Freemasons? Yeah, all of them. And we know exactly what lodge they go to, what rank they are. Like, did you guys know about this? Here we have James repping T-Hun Lodge 104 out of Colorado Springs. Here we have Edgar, his rank, repping number 33. Lodge number 29 out of Artesia, New Mexico. Here we have Buzz Aldrin, rank, lodge number 144 out of New Jersey. Here we have our buddy Leroy repping lodge number 82 out of Colorado. Also, were you guys aware that the moon rock they gave the Dutch Prime Minister in 1969 turned out to be fake?
What?
Petrified wood? Time to wake up, guys. And of course, all this was for entertainment purposes only.
Right.
Of course, none of this is real, and I'm just here to make you laugh.
Ha ha. Yes, listen to this story. Now, Melania Trump all of a sudden went up and gave this speech. None of us could figure out really why. Well, her best friend of 20 years, Amanda Ungaro, she was married to Pablo Zambelli, I think his name is, or something like that. Well, he is one of Trump's very best friends, right? Well, Amanda knows a lot of information. And Paulo, though, had her deported because he didn't want to have to pay child support payments. And now she only gets visits from her teenage son that they are co-parenting together. But that's besides the point. So Amanda Ungaro is really mad at Melania Trump for not trying to stop the importation. Because she's like, you're my friend. What are you doing? You're the fucking president's wife. You can stop this. But she didn't. And so now Amanda's a very upset woman. And hell hath no fury on a woman that's scorned, right? So she's definitely having fury, I will say. And Melania and Trump, you better be careful. You better watch out.
We're starting to learn a lot more about why Melania Trump did that unplanned, unannounced, and frankly, unhinged press conference on Thursday. We've learned now that it was most likely Amanda Ungaro's post from earlier that morning that triggered Melania. Here's what Amanda said. Hello, Melania. I was around you for 20 years. You knew I was inside ICE, and you know what hurts after all this time? I stayed close to your family, your mother and your father, not because of you, but because of them, at events and everything else. So shut your mouth when speaking about me, because I will expose everything I know. She went on to make even more powerful statements. I have nothing left to lose in my life. I will tear down the entire system. Be careful with me, bitch. I will tear down your corrupt system, even if it's the last thing I do in my life. I will go all the way. I am not afraid. Maybe you should be afraid of what I know, of what you are and who your husband is. We'll take legal action against you and your PDF husband. Look, I'm sure a convicted felon like Donald Trump has accusations like this leveled against him all the time. But what makes Amanda's accusation so critical is because of who she is, what she knows, and what she's been through to get this pissed off. Just for a moment, let's put ourselves in Amanda's shoes. What could possibly motivate her to threaten the most powerful couple in the world with some of the most heinous crimes imaginable? Well, here's the answer in a nutshell. Her ex-boyfriend, Paolo Zampoli, a very close friend of Trump, had her deported so he wouldn't have to pay her child support payments. And this nightmare began for Amanda in June of last year when she was arrested in Miami on fraud-related charges tied to a spa where she worked at, and she pleaded not guilty. The evidence they used against her were videos they say they found on her phone. Very sketchy. Here's how Amanda describes that experience. Officers came into our home at 6 in the morning, pulled me into the hallway in my pajamas with my face turned to the wall, and took our passports, she said. They handcuffed me and my husband in front of my son, who was also taken to the station. Because he's a minor, I had no one to leave him with. Amanda was then transferred to the Louisiana ICE Processing Center, and she described it like, I felt we were on display like meat at a butcher shop. And at the time, she was going through a nasty custody dispute over her teenage son with her estranged partner, the infamous Paolo Zampoli, who we're all learning so much about, and his modeling agency and his ties to Donald Trump. And it was reported by the New York Times that it was Zampoli who contacted a senior ICE official and informed them that Amanda, his ex, was on an expired visa. Now keep in mind that Zampoli at the time had the position of U.S. Special Envoy because of his relationship with Trump. So he was very well connected, and he was enraged by the fact that Amanda was requesting the courts give her full custody of their son, a decision that could have resulted in years of child support payments. So while Amanda was in custody from her original arrest, she gets picked up by ICE and placed into federal custody, where she remained there for 4 months until she got deported to Brazil, where she remains there as of today. According to reports, her teenage son has been able to visit her in Brazil, but he remains in the U.S. with his father. So just imagine, if you will, the furious rage and anger that Amanda must be feeling after having been separated from her son, from her life for 4 months, and then being deported to Brazil, where she is now in a legal battle trying to get back to the U.S. And all of this was from a crazy ex-boyfriend who's helping the president cover up some of the most horrendous crimes of our lifetime. So not only is she pissed off that she had to spend 4 months of her life in an ICE detention facility, but she was also placed there to stay quiet about Trump's crimes. And now Amanda has a team of lawyers, she's fearless on social media, And there's even rumors circulating that she'll be meeting with the House Oversight Committee. How does that saying go? Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Damn, what are you guys' thoughts on that? Do you guys really think that Amanda's going to come out with all of the information that she knows, or are they going to try to do something to her beforehand? She's in Brazil, though. She's not in the States, so it's not like they can just take her out here. It's a little bit harder. But whatever they want to do, they'll do. The CIA will go anywhere. You know what I mean?
I'm in the Epstein files. My fiance literally just sent me an email telling me that my name is in the files.
This woman just found out her name might be inside the Epstein files, and the way she reacts is honestly terrifying because it didn't come from the news. It came from her own fiance who emailed her saying, "Your name is in there." And the second she reads it, her heart starts racing. She can barely process what she's seeing. So she opens the document herself, and right there it mentions the Women in the World Summit opening on April 12th with a lineup of powerful women. And then it hits her. She actually spoke at that event. She was there. She was part of it. And now somehow it's being tied to something way darker. She starts spiraling, asking, how is this even possible? Was this just a coincidence, or is something being twisted behind the scenes? And then she sees another line talking about a Men of the World conference. And that's when it stops feeling random and starts feeling targeted, like someone is connecting dots that were never meant to be connected. She goes from confused to genuinely shaken, saying this used to feel like a distant issue, but now it feels personal, like someone dragged her name into something she doesn't understand. And the scariest part is she still doesn't know why. So if you were in her position and suddenly saw your name in something like this, what would you even do first?
Well, if you speak at events,
something is about to happen in America that hasn't happened in 221 years. Experts are now predicting that billions of insects will burst from out of the ground and cover roads, trees, and sidewalks in an event that hasn't happened since 1803. Guess we'll find that. Now, the insects in question are cicadas, which have red eyes, are pretty large, and are known for their unique screaming sound.
Oh my
God. Now, granted,
God.
cicadas appear every year, but this year's bloody biblical level awakening will not see just one, but two broods coming up at the same time. And why it's so rare is that one of them comes up every 13 years, and the other every 17. So for them to link up and tag team the U.S. at the same time, it sounds like frickin' Moses is in town. These are going to be the states worst affected, so get your flamethrowers ready. And they're predicted to emerge in May and June. So the question is, billions of cicadas or doublets, and give it to Canada.
Now, okay, this picture right here is an X-ray of Jeffrey Epstein's pelvic area after death, right? Now, you see that the mass right here, sort of. It's like a little bit light, but it's right there, right? That is a prostate.
So damn well you got a prostate.
Jeffrey Epstein did not have a prostate. So that is not his pelvic area. That is somebody else. Just like they're speculating and everything, I guess it's true. That is not his pelvis. There is a prostate in there. What do you think? You guys tell me in the comments below.
Jeffrey Epstein was Vladimir Putin's wealth manager and hung out with Donald Trump in 2015? Well, those things are true according to a confidential source. So this is very interesting. So this is, yes, a tip sheet, an information sheet that was filled out by the FBI. However, this is not your average tip sheet. You've probably seen a lot of tips like this, and these tips essentially came in from all different types of people and sources, and they're all pretty much unverified, meaning that anybody could submit a tip and it would have made its way into the files. However, this tip comes from a confidential human source. This is what the FBI calls informants nowadays. Like, think about the guys that got in with the mafia to expose people like John Gotti, basically like moles, rats. That's what a CHS or confidential human source is. So they're a person that the FBI is actually working with who feeds the FBI information, who the FBI deems to be credible. And here's what the informant told the FBI in 2017. Jeffrey Epstein had a compound in New Mexico where he lured and video recorded underage women. Epstein was President Vladimir Putin's wealth manager and provided the same service for Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe. Epstein had some connection to blank from MIT Media Lab, but CHS was unsure of the details. Epstein had dirt on other people. The logs from his flights were made public at some point. Epstein had a mansion on the Upper West Side. Epstein made his money from charging his clients fees to hide their money offshore. Epstein knew former President Bill Clinton and was very close to current President Donald Trump. In the spring of 2015, President Trump had just been to Epstein's property for lunch. So Trump has very publicly tried to state that he kicked Epstein out of his club, but recently some documents were released that showed from his legal team that that never actually happened. I don't know if you saw that story or not, but essentially Trump and his team said, yeah, we didn't technically throw him out. He wasn't a member. That really didn't happen. And now we have an informant that the FBI is working with stating on the record that Trump had lunch with Epstein in 2015, the year before he became president. Now, I've also covered in recent weeks testimonies from other alleged survivors who stated that Trump was at the island during his presidency. And there are reports in the files that Epstein was friends with Trump, or at least in contact with Trump, all through Trump's first presidency up until his death. So, to me, this is an incredibly crazy tip and something just incredibly wild to see. And, I'd like to sit and think that this information would actually cause something to happen and that people would actually treat this as something serious and some serious news, but that isn't what's happening here. And I haven't seen the mainstream media or nightly news talking about this document at all.
Of course not.
As always, y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments and follow along for more updates.
So Spirit keeps talking to me about the concept of morality and how the conscious mind is neutral until we start applying meaning to it. And I can't help but to feel that the idea and concept of morality was sold to us so that we would not fight back, so that they could make us docile and complicit. And so they told us that we've been nothing more than slaves without telling us that 240,000 years we were free. Because if we knew that we were free for 240,000 years, we wouldn't have accepted our circumstances. Not to say that all of us did, because a lot of us didn't. So let's say hypothetically that a massive water ritual was done. And water is memory. And if we're talking about the ocean or our external waters, it's collective memory. So let's just say hypothetically, all of black nobility got on this ship, massive ship. And the person who owned the ship right before it took off got sick, got off the ship. The ship sails off and then the ship never comes back because it hits a quote unquote iceberg and splits in half. Now, the only three people who were opposing this global takeover that the person who owned the boat was a part of was on the boat. And so they died. And a couple days later, behind closed doors, illegally, they signed something into law so that they could take over the money because they understood whoever had the money had the power. And now that all the black nobility just died in this massive water ritual, they can use their laws and their doctrines to come in and take their land, specifically the Abandoned Shipwreck Act. Now, what does the Abandoned Shipwreck Act say? It said that if you are dead or lost at sea, the state can come in and claim title to your lands, to your properties, and they're just holding it for you until you come forth and claim your property. And water rituals aren't foreign to these people if you think about Whitney Houston, Bobby Christina, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Naya Rivera, Otis Redding, but I digress. And so their doctrines and laws allowed them to come in and claim your property because you're dead and lost at sea until you come forward and say that you are alive. And they put on your clothes and they repurposed your history to make it seem like it's always been them. And then they told you you were unworthy, gave you a book on morality while they made it legal for them to unalive you through their organized gang that are protected by the laws and doctrines that they're making. Because after the water ritual, they're doing a mimic ritual. And so now you don't know what's true. And then they infiltrate spaces where they know you'll gravitate because of your connection to earth, because of your connection to life force energy, because of your connection to creativity. And they distorted those areas so that you got to come through them. They know that when you sing, light codes come out of your voice. that can activate awakenings in other people. So they got to turn the music to a specific frequency so that you can't activate remembrance in other people. They own all your sports teams so that you entertain them, so that you make them more money. Because again, these people think money equals control. They make all these corporations and make you think efficiency and convenience is the way to go so they can control what goes in your body. Because if you're not in your body, then something else can be. And then they don't actually teach you about yourself as energy so that they can use these frequency weapons against you. And now that you're starting to wake up, they're panicking. They're going after these stargates, specifically one stargate that is awakening right now that will activate the divine feminine energy. Do you know what the divine feminine energy rules? Embodiment. So you would be back in your body, back feeling, and that's dangerous because whether you know it or not, you can feel the truth in your bones when it is being spoken. So the lie, the illusion goes away. It also has to deal with water. So whatever spell was done using a water ritual, the illusion goes away. It also, since we're talking water, we're talking memory. It activates the memories that were blocked in the ritual. Now, in addition to that, water and the divine feminine represent the subconscious mind, what is hidden. Now, what happens when you go through a traumatic event? Your brain does this thing where it tries to protect you. And so it blocks the memory. And if you put a little oomph behind that, what do we think will happen? I don't know. This is just all hypothetical. But what if?
Crazy. I don't know. I mean, she said a lot in that video, in fact, about morality and everything else, and just how non-moral our system is. It is not moral in any kind of way. In fact, I believe it's blasphemous, especially after our president, Donald Trump, posting a picture of him depicted as Jesus, but he was a doctor, okay? He was healing people. He always heals people. Oh.
This is what makes you a bad person.
What?
This is what makes you a person who lacks morals, who lacks values.
What are you trying to say?
It's not when you initially betray somebody. It's not when you initially cheat on somebody or you do someone wrong. What makes you a person that lacks morals and values is when you refuse to hold yourself accountable.
Yes.
When you blame the other person for what you did wrong.
Exactly.
When you gaslight them, when you manipulate them to make them feel bad about the actions that you took. That's what makes you a bad person.
Yes.
Is not willing to take a look in the mirror and understand how you hurt somebody. That's what makes you a bad person. And that's the problem we have. Is so many people nowadays in relationships and marriages, they cheat. They betray others. They do wrong things. And the difference is there are people who hold themselves accountable, and those people can actually fix their relationships. The problem we have is the person who refuses to hold themselves accountable and continues to abuse the other person by blaming them for the wrongs that they do. Those are the bad people. Those are the people who lack morals, and those are the people who lack values. We all make mistakes. We all have lessons to learn. But if you're able to make a mistake, hold yourself accountable, and make things right, then you're actually a good person. You're actually human.
Thank God.
Because we all make mistakes. But can you hold yourself accountable when you make those mistakes?
I do.
That's the real question.
Okay, yeah. I mean, what is morality to you guys? I mean, my fiance and I were just talking about this, in fact, and him and I have been together for over 20 years. Why? Because we both take accountability as needed. Or if the other one isn't, the other one will bring it to the other's attention. You know what I'm saying? But never, ever will I do something that's wrong and then find out it's wrong, or maybe I did it knowing it's wrong. For me to not take accountability makes me look like a coward. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like being a good person does involve taking accountability, because I will always take the hard right as opposed to the easy wrong. That's what I always say, because I feel like we a lot of the times love to take that easy wrong route, and then, we'll just gaslight them, make them feel like, it's no biggie. But it is. you really harm your credibility as a person. People don't want to confide in you. The world won't confide in you. The secrets won't be there for you to have, for you to listen to, for you to understand. Do you know what I'm saying? And I want you guys to know that you should take accountability always. And I believe that my audience, if you're watching me, you do take accountability. You are wonderful people. You are sweet. You're kind. You're loving, understanding. And I appreciate that so much. And again, I believe that prayer is very, very strong. And I'll pray for you guys at all times. And I just want you to have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever it might be by you. I love you guys.